Okay, friends, so what I want you to do today is I want you to do some more flower drawing practice. So that means draw some more flowers, nice big flowers. Remember, center is about the same size as our hand with really big petals. Now you might be saying, wow, Miss Ottenrath, I can't draw petals that big. Try. You can also, if you have things at home that you want to trace to draw petals, you can do that as well. So what I mean by that is if you have shapes that you like, you can trace your petals like that. Now this one goes off the paper, that's okay. I guess I could have drawn that one a little bit better. This one isn't as good as it could be. The one I drew yesterday was much better. But that's okay. It still looks cool. Okay. I'm going to draw one that's going off the paper. And this one's going to have a wavy line pattern around it. That's okay if they touch. Like, don't worry about it if they touch. And then this one, I'm going to put one in the corner. And I think I'm going to do, oh, I don't know. I like doing these weird square petals. They're just rectangles. And then I like going back behind. And look, oops, and now I drew through that. You know what I wasn't supposed to do? I wasn't supposed to draw through that flower. So I'm going to have to fix that, and I'm going to show you a way to do that later. And then I'm going to do one more row of flowers behind. Okay, all right, or petals. All right, so now we've got a nice big picture full of different kinds of flowers. But what we're going to do is we are going to use the pattern guide that I showed you. And we're going to use that pattern guide to help us to choose some different patterns to make inside and around our flowers. Now, the best thing I can say for doing patterns is looking at your drawing and thinking, do you need to add that many patterns? Does your flower already have everything it needs in it? Okay, so this is what I have. And you're going to get one of these to look at. Okay, so this already has a line pattern. So maybe I'm not going to work inside the petal area, but maybe just something inside of the center of the flower. So I'm going to look at my patterns. And again, this is practice because we want to make sure that we have some chance to play around and make some ideas. So practice is actually where you would be sketching or making ideas. So, and if you like your idea, you can always recreate it later. So down here, I'm going to choose one of the patterns that looks a little bit more complicated than what it is, and I'm going to choose this one right here. This is one of my favorite patterns to do. You can see it there. It's this one right here, okay? It's one of my favorite patterns to do because it's not as hard as it looks. So all you do is you draw 1, 2, 3 vertical lines, then 1, 2, 3 horizontal lines. And then you keep repeating that pattern until you run out of space. Now you're like, oh, I drew a line there. Okay, so now continue this pattern. Wherever you have a horizontal line, you do the opposite. You change your pattern. You go 1, 2, 3. So these ones are vertical, so on top of it I draw horizontal. These ones are horizontal, on top of it I draw vertical. And it's okay if they're not perfect. That's not what's important. What is important is making sure that You try to keep your patterns right. All right, so I'm going to stop there because, like I said, this is already a line pattern, so I'm going to leave that alone because I don't want to make it too crazy. We can do that another day. We can make crazy flower patterns. Okay. Now this one, I think this one would look good with like a spiral or a swirl in the center. And then I think just going through and adding some diagonal lines through all of the flower petals. And you can change the direction, make it more interesting. Okay, you can do that. And then I always like to add some polka dots, like this pattern idea here. So see where I made a little mistake here? I can just add polka dots, but I'm not going to do it in every row. I'm going to do it in every other set so that it creates a little bit of contrast. So it looks just a little bit different. Because what you don't want to do is you don't want to do it too much, because then it looks like there's just too much going on in there. Because we don't want it to be too crazy, but it'll look pretty cool though. Oops, I forgot one. Oh, and I made a mistake. And you know what? It happens. It's not a big deal. See what I'm doing, how I made a mistake? I was rushing, and you don't want to rush through your art because then you make mistakes. Even though it's just a little one, it's not a big deal. All right, so that one's pretty well decorated. That one's pretty crazy looking, huh? All right, so let's move on to this one. And I think this one, we should do some crazy pattern work like that. So let's say, you can always make up your own patterns, so you don't have to just do these. I think this one, see, I'm taking a place where I made a mistake, and I'm working with that mistake, because there was a mistake there, and I covered it up. And I'm going to cover this one up too. You just see. So I'm drawing curved lines. They're kind of going in different directions, and that's okay. And I'm going to stop right there. And then what I'm going to do now is one of my favorite things is draw more line patterns. Inside of other spaces. And then I do like putting in my polka dots. So why we're doing a practice is because you need to make a plan. So a lot of art is based on making a plan and making sure that you can create your idea and that you're happy with it. So a lot of artists do practice art, or they do sketches. And in those sketches, They're figuring out where everything is going to go and why they want to put it there. And it always goes with, you know, why do you want to put things where you put them? Like, is there a reason? What's the reason why you're doing that? And if, you know, what if the idea doesn't work and then you mess up your whole paper? Like that didn't work. I don't like it. So I'm going to take this opportunity. I'm going to color that in because I don't like it. But remember, this is just a practice one because I don't like it. Okay, so I'm just going to color that in. Actually, that looks really good. So now we're going to move on to this last guy. And I think for this one, we're going to stick with, see, I kind of used this one and I modified it for this one. I think we're going to stick with some pretty simple patterns because design is so intricate. So I think what I'm going to do is kind of like what I did before. And I'm just going to put dots, simple dots. You don't need to do more than simple work. And as you can see, I know that some parts of the flowers are kind of covered by other parts of the flowers. And that's okay. You can either choose to draw around that or not. It looks best if you try to do some layering or overlapping. Okay, and then inside here, I think this needs to have something inside here for sure. I just don't know quite what, so it's pretty simple here. Maybe I should do, I feel like I should do a round pattern. So I'm going to just try to draw some small curves and then wavy line, and then maybe and then I think I'm going to, see, I'm not really colored in. I'm making some really close stripes together. These ones I'm going to make solid. So I don't know, maybe something like that. It doesn't really work the way that I thought it was going to. Put some more polka dots in there. Okay, so there's some practice. Now here's the next thing we're gonna do, is we kind of want to have something as far as a pattern going in the background. So for a different class, I made these line pattern examples. So you can do this if you want to, but I'm not requiring you to. So I'm gonna pick one of these simple lines and I'm gonna go with the zigzag line. And I'm gonna try to make a zigzag background. It might be too much. It might not be enough. Or now that I look at it, I think maybe I should just leave it and just do one solid color when I color it in. I don't know. So let's see. I think I'm gonna do a solid background. Maybe we can add, you know how I like polka dots. So maybe the zigzag's too much, but maybe I can do a random pattern. Okay. That's, Okay, so that looks a lot better to me. I like that better. Just need some more over here, here. Maybe one right here. Okay, so now I think this is pretty well heavily decorated, and it looks like we're ready to start working on our final tomorrow. All right, guys. Looks good. Let me know what you think.